all happened like I knew it would. A single drop of source magic. And, like flies to honey, the monsters swarmed. The rebel panicked. The carnage began. And the Magisters pointed their fingers at me. Just as I'd planned. I was shackled and collared, and sent to Fort Joy. I'd come here to kill Godwoken. But instead, I became part of their story.
What a way to wake. Wooden boards and iron shackles. The Divine Order's hospitality leaves much to be desired indeed.
What a well of knowledge this tome is. Dallas is such a dear lending it to
The
me.
indignity. I'm supposed to send people down to the dungeons, not the other way round.
No known associates. In fact, he seemed quite averse to spending time with us.
What a well of knowledge this tome is. Dallas is such a dear lending it to me. Where did I leave my calipers?
That can't be natural.
A subpar cranium, that? Human, no wonder.
Ah, you're up. Yes. Looks like that collar fits you snugly enough. Nice bit of work, even if I do say so myself.
No lesions, no trauma. He was bled by magic.
Oh, everything's spick and span. Nothing left to do, really.
Did the murderer take him into this room? Or was he already here? lesions, no trauma. He was bled by magic.
There. Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ships. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters. Why? Because we're at sea, of course, and have been for several days.
Index fingers pressed to her lips, she pauses a moment to give you a scrutinizing gander.
My word, you do seem a bit befuddled, don't you? Perhaps I was... Oh well, I'm sure you'll soon gather your wits. Most likely. Eventually. In the meantime, all you need to know is a new life awaits. And if you're a particularly good boy, perhaps a cure as well. An end to Source. For good. Why, for my peace of mind, of course. Why don't you try casting one of those Source spells of yours? See what happens.
Currents of magic surge inside you, boiling, bursting, then breaking, only to fade back into your soul like rain into the...
My, look at the concentration on your face. There you have it, see? The collar's function. It's for your own peace of mind, of course. You...
It seems as though there's a pattern in the blood flow. That can't be natural. But who? No lesions, no trauma. He was bled by magic.
Oh, everything's
Good
spick
God!
and span.
There's been a...
Behind the Magister, a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles. You can't make out a face amid the mess.
There's been a murder. A sorcerer was killed by one of your own. Lucky you were busy getting your collar fitted at the time. Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does. It's a small ship. His name was Finn. Oddball. Looked to me like he saw something he wished he hadn't. We'll find out who did it. What?
Yes, this is a rare kind of magic. I'll need to write to headquarters right away. Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwoken followed the source that did this.
She looks up at you with a mirthless smile.
I was on duty in your room when the murder happened. You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Unless you can commit murder in your sleep, of course. Finn was killed by Source. If a Magister could do... It looks more like a passenger managed to slip their collar. Listen, I could use someone to keep their ears open. Bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you. How about that? Thanks. I just want to catch whoever did this. Did the murderer take him into this room? Or was he already here?
well of knowledge this tome is. Dallas is such a dear lending it to me.
A young magister stands pale and silent. Her knuckles whiten around her weapon as you pass.
Quite averse to spending time with the others.
Oh, everything's spick and span. Nothing left to do, really.
Please, please. I forgot how to think. I did.
I'm not suited for this. It's sea cow, not sea sheep. Haven't got any shoes, have you? People.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on. One of us would
An
kill our own.
elf sits tucked away in a dark spot, lazily rolling dice onto the surface of...
Snake eyes.
To the part where I reassure you.
She chuckles.
I bet that's just what they'll look like.
She shakes her head.
Game for one, I'm afraid. Rolling dice, deciding fates.
I'll tell you.
Don't worry, honey. It isn't yours.
Listen,
She looks you up and down with the merest hint of a coy.
Never say never, though.
She eyes you quite seriously.
Not the future, no. But I can read the past. I could lick your arm and tell you how you spent the night before last. Shall I?
She gives your arm a vigorous stroke of the tongue, efficient like a...
You were in a cellar with other sorcerers. As finding the cellar door ajar, instead of trying to escape, you snuck. There you stood as a magister walked in, still hungry, feeling a mighty fool.
She pats you on the shoulder consolingly.
There, don't you worry, darling. I don't lick and tell.
I ain't saying nothing.
Bloody dwarves, I'll come back to you, and you better be ready to talk here.
I'm busy watching for clues, sorcerer. Go take...
And if she tries to run, shoot her kid.
Nice.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
A scruffy man lounges against the wall with scarred arms folded. A sly smile playing on his face. He stares,
Watch your back, new fish. There's a murderer on board.
rolling his eyes at the Magister's warning. The man named Ifan beckons again. He leans in and adjusts your collar with a sharp tug, balancing its weight so it no longer presses unpleasantly on your...
Pinches less that way, right?
Hocking a phlegmy gobbet in your general direction, the sullen Magister settles back to his task of glowering at Ifan. And
We used to know each other, more's the pity. I was his commander many, many, many moons ago.
Standing far back from Ifan, the tight-faced Magister draws one finger. Ifan grins, flashing pointed white.
Same as he was at 14 years old. Only difference is somebody gave him a bigger sword and now he's Johnny Big Pants. Long story. Maybe I'll tell you about it in the Joy. Away from... no. The dead man. Finn, is it? I'd no business with him.
He glances over at Magister Victor, who stares.
Damn shame sheer annoyance isn't reason enough. The Joy. I've heard a lot. Nothing good. Wonder if we'll get to meet the Ringmaster himself. Easy now. I might think the same, but Vic...
What are you conspiring about over there? You...
Oh, don't mind him. Vic's just got a bee in his bonnet.
Name.
Magister Victor looks at you suspiciously, then scrawls something illegible down in a tiny note.
Away with you. At once.
Ifan performs an elaborate pantomime of keeping quiet. One
One of them. I know it. Would you put a knuckle in it? I'm trying to concentrate. Murder most foul. And I strongly suspect you know all about it. I'll give you that knuckle. Well, perhaps you're absolutely right. One of them in our own. Picking us off one by one. Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up? Mad? Insufferable, surely. I'll tell you if you keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard, Vic.
That right? I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Nest. Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with him.
Ask what you must. I've nothing to hide.
Seems to me you should be a little more afraid. There's a killer about, after all.
Till overboiling a bit of cabbage becomes a crime,
Junk.
I shall hold my head steady.
Keep those bolts trained on her, and if she tries to run, shoot to kill.
You seem on edge, Jonathan. What on earth is the matter?
Murder most foul, and I strongly suspect you know all about it.
Do you? Well, perhaps you're absolutely right.
We just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up. Mad? Insufferable, surely. I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
A broad dwarf sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eye.
Listen up, boy. You hear that?
Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like
this.
The ship, of course.
As soon as the Inquisitor...
A wave of sound washes over you. The unintelligible chatter of your shipmates, the groaning of wood from floor...
And?
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard.
That right? I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Mest. Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with it.
Why won't you sing? A no doesn't become a yes over time.
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard, Vic.
That right? I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Mest. Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with it.
Sick as a leper's cat. From the state of it, I'd say she's being cared for by a bunch of beardless babes who never loved anyone but their own mums. But there's more. Listen close. There now, just like that.
You are chill, aren't you?
Aha!
His eyes snap open as his countenance breaks into an expression of joy. One great paw claps you on the back.
There. You heard it, didn't you? I knew it. I knew it. Aye, this is good news, boy. Good news. It's the wheel. The wheel. Don't you see, you beautiful idiot? Squeaks whenever the helmsman... Burn my beard. That means... if we've been travelling for... yes, only 10.34 nautical miles to Fort Joy.
That right? I always knew you'd...
Captain, actually. And that figure tells me we're getting...
The dwarf leans back from the table and strokes his beard, gold medallions jingling merrily.
That'll be all. Thank you kindly, boy.
You've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with it.
Please, please, please. A no doesn't become a yes over time, you know.
Boring.
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard, Vic.
That right? I always knew you'd turn out rotten, Ben Mest. Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship.